Hello, everyone. I will stand myself in the red circle. My name is Ariella Knight. I am, as I was introduced, the founder and CEO of the American Institute. I want to thank Younes and the TEDx team, I'm not finding Younes, for inviting me to speak today. When he offered the opportunity to share something inspiring, something about my journey, something about my expertise, I sat and I tried to think, what could I share with an audience who does not share a background with me? In order to feel inspired by someone, we often need to see ourselves in them. When I hear an astronaut speak about their amazing trips to the moon and the space station, I think, wow, good for you. That has nothing to do with my life. And so here I am, an American, living in Algeria, running a business. I opened my business in my 30s. I was not a natural entrepreneur. I'll come to that story shortly. And I think perhaps some of you might say, okay, different citizenship, different field of study, different language. Maybe Ariella has a super fascinating story, but that really doesn't have much to do with me and my story. Well, today I've come up with something that is here for the fellow entrepreneurs. And I believe that everybody has the potential to be an entrepreneur because I entered this in my 30s with absolutely no training. So if you can open your heart to me for the next 10 minutes or so, I'd like to share something with you that I think could help you on your journey. I'm a little bit allergic to the self-help guru, so I won't say, this one tip will change your life. If you do what I say, you will never work a day in your life again. We've all seen these videos. I don't live life like that. My life is lived by gathering small pieces of advice from different corners that apply to me differently depending where I am in my life. So I've picked something modest, something achievable that everyone here can do and perhaps can see an outcome in your life. The topic that I have spent 3 minutes arriving to is noticing. I'd like to talk to you about noticing, which I believe is the most underrated skill needed to become an entrepreneur, either literally in creating a business or an entrepreneur in your own life, creating your own happiness. Sometimes happiness maybe is too strong. Let's go with satisfaction. I think all of us are trying to create lives of meaning and lives of satisfaction. So for me, how did noticing shake my world? Why is it something I want to talk to you about today? Well, at one point in time, I was not living in Algeria, and I was not running an English school. I'm going to share with you my story about how noticing helped me arrive where I am. And when I say where I am, I don't mean Algeria. I don't mean the owner of a business. I don't mean here on this stage. I mean living a life in which I find myself more satisfied. I find that my work aligns more closely with what I want to do in the world and where I find meaning. So how did I arrive to this satisfaction? Well, I went to university for project management with a specialty in nonprofits. I know it's such a rare thing to want to do, but I was going to save the world. This was what I decided. I'm going to work in nonprofits. I want to work in saving the environment. I want to thank the previous speaker for this really inspiring talk. It brought me back to my studies. I studied this topic. I come from a family of academics, PhDs, everyone working for nonprofits, nobody working for a for-profit company, and certainly nobody starting their own businesses. I went out into the world after college and I got a job working exactly in my field, nonprofits, project management, environmental causes, saving the world. And after 4 years of this, I know it's not a long time, but in your 20s, 4 years is a long time. I looked up and I realized I'm not actually happy. I don't feel connected to my work. I don't feel like I'm making a difference. I don't enjoy sitting in an office all day. I'm not finding inspiration in my spreadsheets. And maybe for some individuals, they can see the connection between their spreadsheet and saving the forests. I was not that individual. I wasn't motivated to get out of bed in the morning for this type of work. And this realization struck me so hard. Within 2 months, I had quit my job. I had applied for different opportunities. Now that I was awake and noticing what actually was working in my life and what wasn't, I found opportunities like one to go to Algeria and teach English for a year. Now, teaching for me, this was my hobby. This is what I liked to do. This is what I did in university. It's what I did as a volunteer while I was working. During my weekends, it was what I loved. So I thought, okay, I'll give myself 1 year to do something I love, and then I'll return. Yeah, then I'll go back. Yeah, we don't do what we love forever. That's a crazy idea. I'll go to Algeria, and I'll do my research for the PhD. Because probably I will love this field more if I have another degree in it. That's the answer. I came to Algeria. I worked with a partnership between the Ministry of Higher Education and the US Embassy in Algiers. At the end of the year, I look up, I realize, without noticing, without thinking, I had somehow created an English teaching business. I wasn't sure what to do. I was looking at PhD programs, and I had 13 clients. Not simply individual students, but also companies, where I was going and teaching in boardrooms, groups of students. I was inspired by my students. I was adapting my methodology to meet the needs here in Algeria. And it was in this moment when I really woke up and said, why would I leave? Why would I leave when what I have in front of me is starting to work? And it's not just working from a level of, do I like it? Is it interesting? I'm also receiving positive feedback from the community and, as entrepreneurs, what we call the market. The market liked what I was offering. Without trying, I was selling something. Now, you must remember my background. I had never worked for a company that sold anything. I worked for nonprofits. So this was a huge change for me. And this is the part of the story where I'll just wrap up and go to the end. That was 4 years ago. I took my leap of faith. I followed the open doors. I stayed in Algeria, I opened a business, and here we are with the American Institute. Thank you. I mean, some folks may simply see, oh, an American who came to open an English school, that's logical. There's a market. She must have known that and very strategically picked her market and established her business. Well, it couldn't be further from the truth. This is my story of noticing how when I was able to analyze my life almost from a distance, I could see scientifically what was working. Oh, Ariella is actually spending a lot of her time on teaching, a lot more of her time on teaching. Funny she hasn't found a single university to apply for a PhD. Interesting how she has students coming to her every week until her calendar is full within a month. That distance allowed me to notice. So at this point, you may say to yourselves, okay, Ariella, great. Good thing I'm a really good noticer. I'm here in a TED Talk event. So I'm interested in my career. I'm good at networking. I have the ability to think strategically about what I'm going to do. I'll pass this along to my friend, but me, I'm a very good noticer. The problem is, we have a little bit of a bias when it comes to our ability to notice. because we are generally walking around with two blinders. We call these on the horse blinders. We limit what the horse can see so that he or she doesn't jump in traffic or at sudden movement. And for us, I believe we have two blinders. We have the blinder of the should. Well, I should work in this field because I told everyone that I was going to do it, and I thought I would like it, so I should like it. So I'm not going to ask if I like it because I know I should. So I'm not even opening my awareness to whether or not I enjoy this because I've already decided I should enjoy it, and that's more important. We have our other blinder, and this is path dependency. Path dependency. I've put so much time. I studied 2 years, I studied 4 years, I studied 10 years. I've worked for 10 years in this field, so I am not even open to analyzing a change. So when we say we are noticing, we are often only looking at a very narrow area of our lives. We're only allowing ourselves to look at this narrow area guided by path dependency and should. And often it takes a rather dramatic change. Like for me, arriving in a new country where I didn't have shoulds. No one told me how I should feel in Algeria, so I was open. I'd already broken my path dependency, so I was open. And it was this openness that allowed me to notice what was working. I'll tell another story briefly that hopefully connects with the entrepreneurs in the room. We have a tendency as entrepreneurs to confuse our customers, in my case, my students, with ourselves. We decide what they should like. Well, I love poetry, so I'm going to offer an English language class all about poetry. And I know that poetry is fascinating, so my students should love this. The market should respond. So I invest money and time. I develop my course. I think about it. I dream about it. I'm sweating over it. I release it. I spend money on marketing. I spend money on sales. I'm talking about it everywhere I go. The first poetry class in Algeria. Maybe one person signs up, 2 people sign up. Now, if I'm noticing with my blinders, I will tell myself, well, they should like it, and I've spent money on it. So I'll continue to market, and I'll continue to sell it, and I'll come on these stages, and I will scream about poetry, because I'm only allowing myself to notice a very small piece of the situation. As entrepreneurs, we are all victim to this. We confuse our students with ourselves. I would love this, so they must. Of course, I will get funding for this idea because it's genius. Well, if no one wants to fund it, there's something wrong. If no one wants the poetry class, there's something wrong. It's not the time. Poetry's too early. It's the wrong poets. All right? Noticing whether it's in your life or your business can make a significant difference. I have a little bit more time, I think, and I want to share a story about teacher training, because I find that the lessons I apply to my business, I also apply in my classroom. So we provide a teacher training at the American Institute for an international certification. It's 120 hours. The teachers come, they sit, they learn how to teach pronunciation, grammar, speaking, reading, writing, listening, correcting errors. But what they actually struggle, the hardest part of the certification is learning how to notice what is happening in your classroom. As an English teacher, you arrive into your classroom, you have your lesson ready, you've anticipated the problems, what will the learners struggle with, what can I incorporate from the mistakes last class to this class, when is the test, and how do I make sure they learn this so that I get a good score for this group on the test? And we can be so focused as teachers on our plan and implementing our plan that we stop noticing what's happening in the classroom. In the teacher training, we do observed teaching. So after the class, when the trainee sits, we say, did you notice that your student in the back didn't speak once in class? The teacher will say, no. I could have sworn, not once, not once. Did you notice that everybody in the class was making the same mistake? All of them are forgetting the S on third person present tense. Excuse the technical language. The teacher will say, I didn't notice because I was so focused on my plan. But we are not doing our job as teachers if we do not notice our students and meet them where they are at to raise their level. I don't think there is a better training for becoming an active noticer than learning how to teach. I know I'm biased as a teacher myself, but truly, if this class on noticing could exist in every industry, what could we do? So I will end with some tips on how to become an active noticer. I encourage you to treat your life like a science experiment, to find ways to analyze yourself from a distance, to find trusted advisors, maybe not mom and dad who have strong opinions, maybe a mentor, a colleague at work, someone who's not invested in your path, who you can say, my idea for my business is not getting traction. No one's responding to me. Can you help me figure out why? I believe that I'm doing a great job, but I'm not getting promoted. I can't figure out why. I'm maybe looking at too small a lens. I encourage you to find ways to treat your life like a science experiment, to stay curious, to actively reflect and stay open. And who knows, maybe in 4 years from now, we'll have entrepreneurs coming out of this room in many countries around the world. I will end with a final quote from the great philosopher Keanu Reeves. I have to admit, I was looking for a quote that would inspire and that connects with what I have to say, and the best one was from Keanu. And it is as simple as this: the simple act of paying attention can take you a long way. Thank you very much.